welcome to our podcast. I'm Archana. Starting a family itself is a milestone, but path to parenthood can be complex and full of questions. Questions ranging from natural conception to fertility or to when to consult a doctor and things like that. To answer all these queries, we have with us an expert in reproductive health and fertility, that is Dr. Vidya V. Bhatt. Welcome to our show, Doctor.
Hello.
First of all, to begin our interview today, what is your take on path to parenthood?
Well, path to parenthood is every couple's goal, I would put it, because it requires a lot of planning, it requires a lot of preparation, and then they have to be mentally, physically, and economically also prepared.
Yeah.
Gone are those days when the couple got married and then they said, okay, a pregnancy test is positive, and then we'll continue this pregnancy. But now it is entirely different. People are thinking about how to bring up a child, how we are economically okay to have a third member in the family, and also how to go about in this path. Like, should we really think about a baby now, or do we think about our EMIs and home and our car, or another person doing that is DINK, double income,
Right.
and then kids. It is like that. It is double income, no kids is one part of it. Double income and then kids is another part of it. So all these issues come into this path of parenthood. Basically now the couple are more focused, they are aware of the consequences, and they also want to have a good future to the child. Both they want to give time to the children, they want to give economic freedom, and they want to give everything available, travel, good schools and good entertainment, everything available should be reached to our child is the couple goal. So I feel now the path to parenthood or planning for a pregnancy requires a lot of preparation as compared to before, when people didn't think of it and they just had 1, 2, 3, 4 and kids, which grew on their own. It is not like that now. Now it is, yes, we should educate our children, we should send them abroad for university education. So all these aspects count a lot in this path of parenthood.
As you said, since there are a lot of meticulous planning is involved, decision making becomes very crucial, no, Doctor? So when do you feel is the right time for conception, and when it comes to working couples and all?
Yeah, I think that's $1 million question, like what is the right time for conception? This once again depends on the age of marriage. It depends upon the availability, the time availability for the couple to think that, okay, now it is the right time. Now what happens is, you would have heard in the past that whenever a boy and a girl are there, the boys don't do very well in their classes, whereas the girls are always excelling 99, 100% like that. But when it comes to one stage, that is when they come to graduation, the post-graduation is delayed in a girl, whereas a boy just smoothly walks. That's basically because there is a hurdle, or I would put it, a different path in life the woman goes through into a different family, marriage, and then she has to bear a child. So is that the right time for her? Now what happens here is the biological clock and the career clock just clash in a woman's life.
Right.
So her time of best fertility, I would say, that is, it happens to even doctors also, as we grow in our career.
Right.
25 to 32 or 35 years is the best time to conceive. Now before that, if you tell a girl to conceive, she will come with a stick to you saying that, what do you think? I have to do well in my profession, I have to continue my studies and all that. But the age of marriage also now is it is getting delayed. It is going up to 30, 31, 32 years. For those people, they have to really plan early. But for somebody who has got married at 25, maybe she should think that this 2 or 3 years of my life, let me concentrate on my profession, and then maybe let me think about a child. So all depends upon the age of marriage, their planning, and what kind of profession they are in. Like if you take for doctors, we finish post-graduation and come out of the medical schools only at the age of 28.
Exactly.
So 27, 28, and then we think of marriage. So obviously everything gets delayed. The same IT professionals also, initially they take up a job and then they have to grow in their career. So
Right.
that is also delayed. So I think there's no right time, but anything below 35 years would be the
Is
right,
ideal.
right time or right age to bear a child.
Regarding fertility itself, doctor, people are always beating around the bush itself. So can you exactly explain what is this whole process of fertility and natural conception, and can you shed some light on
Yeah. See, when a couple plans for natural conception, it may be naturally possible for them because newly married, 3 or 4 months they conceive, they may use contraception, they may not use contraception. That time suddenly there's a thought block to them, should we continue the pregnancy? So many a times couples come to me saying that we want a termination of pregnancy. That's basically because we are not ready now.
Correct.
Profession, whatever it could be. So that time my counseling to them is continue. God has given you this, continue the pregnancy, because the very fact you have conceived naturally tells that there's no problem.
Correct.
There are couples who have a lot of problem in
Yeah.
conception. It could be inability to have sex, maybe there is a lot of misunderstanding. So it starts from this level to having great problems like sperm problems, egg problems, all that. I mean, it just goes up the ladder like this. But whenever they conceive naturally, or if they want to conceive naturally, see, when they conceive naturally, it is a boon, everything happens, good, fine. But if they want to conceive naturally, then there is always a doubt, will it happen to me? Because my friend or somebody known to me has not conceived on their own. So that time they would want to consult a doctor. So that time we tell them that take some preconceptional tablets, vitamins, and then have a healthy lifestyle. And then with that we also ask whether your cycles are regular. So the cycles have to be regular because egg is the most important thing in conception.
Right.
So once we know that she is ovulating normally, her cycles are regular, her menstruation is no problem, then conception should happen.
Yeah.
But if it does not, then I think they have to, first thing is they'll Google, then they'll come to us, and then we guide them what has to be done. Because many a times it is not IVF when you go to a doctor. There are small issues. Maybe they are not having sex at the right time. That is in the fertile period.
Right.
From, if it is natural normal cycles, 12th to 16th day is the fertile period. So if they are not having normal sex at that time, maybe they won't conceive.
Correct.
An egg has to be necessary for a baby to become into for a egg and an embryo should be there, that is a sperm should be there. So if this doesn't happen, then maybe there are other issues we'll have to look at.
Okay, but what is this ovulation period and all that, doctor? Is it so important in a woman's life, and why is, like, what are the symptoms and signs associated to know that you're ovulating and all that?
Yeah, see, the moment somebody tells that I have normal cycles, that is, I have regular cycles, my cycles come every 28 days, that means you know that she is ovulating on the 14th day.
Okay.
See, 15 days after the ovulation, the woman menstruates.
Okay.
So the ovulation should happen somewhere around 12th to 14th day. Whereas in a woman who says that my cycles are 35 days,
Okay.
definitely she'll be ovulating, but each woman has her own kind of cycle.
Right.
So she'll be ovulating on the 20th day.
Okay.
A woman who says I menstruate every 24 days, she'll be ovulating on 8th or 10th day. So it is the ovulation period which can be varied, but the post ovulation period is fixed. That is 15 days.
15 days.
So it can be even 45 days cycle also.
Okay.
So she'll be ovulating on the 30th day.
So she'll have to keep a count on it, or does she have
No,
something?
see, when it is 45 days for them to track ovulation, it becomes a little difficult.
Right.
Or some women have this cycle 40 days, next cycle 35 days, the other next cycle 28 days. That means their ovulation is irregular.
Irregular.
So those people need our support. But a woman normally ovulating, normally having her menstruation, or it is within 35 to 24 or 24 to 35 days, that means she's been having everything normal. So conception will not become a challenge to her.
What is this fertile period, doctor, and why is it the right time for intercourse and all that?
See, fertile period is when a woman ovulates. That is between the 12th to the 14th day. Now, this fertile period is used in two ways. One is for contraception and one is for conception. So when we say contraception, we tell them, see, this is your fertile period. Between 10th to 20th day, you avoid intercourse or you use contraception, either condoms or spermicidal jellies, whatever you want to do. Or if you want to have abstinence, no problem.
Okay.
But when they are conceiving, we want this fertile period
Yeah.
to be used properly. That is, during their ovulation, that is between the 14th or the 15th day, provided their cycles are regular, we tell them to have intercourse. Now, the question is, how do we know that it is ovulated?
Right.
So, previously, that is about 25, 30 years back, when this infertility clinics had not propped up,
Yeah.
that time it was basal body temperature. You check your temperature and you say, okay, this is the fertile period.
Okay.
Then you see this mucus. Mucus, the woman has discharged that time. So she takes it in between her fingers and sees it is sticky. That is called as the Spin-Barkett sign.
Okay.
So that was seen. And then, of course, they would say, okay, this is tentatively the ovulation time, and they would have intercourse.
Yeah.
But now you have ovulation kits available. So when these ovulation kits are available, it is also called as LH kit. So abroad and in India, it is available. So they put 2 to 3 drops of urine during the fertile period, and then once it comes positive, they know that 24 hours later, she'll ovulate and they can have intercourse. So this is 2 ways of using the fertile period. One is to avoid pregnancy and one is to have a baby. Yeah.
These LH kits are available in any
Yes,
medical
it is
stores?
available in all medical stores and anywhere it is available. Yeah.
Now, be it this ovulation or fertile window, doctor, it gets very stressful for a couple, to have intercourse in these particular days and things like that. What is your advice to such couple?
Yeah, as you said, that is very, very crucial, because the moment we tell them you have intercourse on these days, the man gets very upset. He says, I have my targets, I have my deadlines, and you are telling me to have intercourse. I come back late in the night, and she has night duties because she is also working in different shifts.
Correct.
So what are you saying, doctor, is a common question. So we tell them, see, it is important to have intercourse in that time because the egg is available that time.
Exactly.
I think in one of the movies they were saying that what for sperms, there are millions, but there is only one egg. So the same way, ovulation is at that time. So we counsel them not to get stressed. Suppose they say, no, it is not possible for me to be under this stress, we tell them take off.
Okay.
Or sometimes I can't have intercourse, we give them a pill saying that you'll have an erection that time. Or we tell them just take off from your work. If it is a weekend, put one extra day, leave and then stay at home. You should have a romantic moment and then have intercourse.
Probably a romantic dinner or
Yeah,
something.
the candlelight dinner.
Okay. What are the other misconceptions about fertility?
Oh God, there are a lot of misconceptions. They say that we should have intercourse during menstruation. This position is not correct, that position is not correct, or I'm unable to have intercourse, or they say that maybe months is enough. Why you want to ask me to have intercourse regularly? Once in a month I'll have. So all these
expect to have a magical wand.
Yeah, yeah. They want all easy things in life. So these are some of the misconceptions they have. But whenever they come to you, you have to educate them, because see, a lot of wrong information also is available on Google.
Correct.
So they read a lot of things, and one important thing which I would like to highlight is when they don't know the basics, which a doctor will counsel them, it is very difficult for somebody to understand by reading the material available across the internet or Google or whatever, or even books rather. So it's always better they go for a counseling to a doctor and understand what is happening.
Okay.
Most of the time there'll be nothing, but they presume that there are some problematic things and there are a lot of big issues. So in such cases, when we counsel them and say this is nothing for you, they are really very happy.
So now couple are into a lot of social drinking, smoking, and things like that, doctor. How do they actually prepare themselves for conception?
Actually, this is a different generation now.
Yeah.
And social drinking, smoking, everything is common. But we do tell them, please don't do that. But what happens is, if it is social drinking, it's okay. But when there are chronic smokers, that can adversely affect on the sperms. The sperms completely become immotile and you'll get dead sperms. And when a woman is smoking, her ovarian reserve just falls down like anything.
Okay.
The oocyte quality goes bad, ovarian reserve goes down, and that one egg which we are waiting for
Right.
is just out of the track, So that's how things happen when they have drug abuse and smoking, alcohol, and all these things. One more important thing which I would like to emphasize is these people who are smoking, drinking, it is one aspect. There are people who are health freaks, They go to the gym, they have all six-pack abs and they work out like mad.
Right.
These people also can have abnormal sperms.
Okay.
That's basically because of the kind of anabolic steroids they take to look like a macho man, And then also they may be taking protein powders which are full of metals. So that can adversely affect their sperm quality. So we tell them, don't overdo anything.
Okay.
Have good quality or healthy lifestyle, good hours of sleep, good hours of exercise, and also a good diet. They have to have a healthy diet. So a proper diet counseling, we tell them. Sometimes they are overweight, sometimes even performance is a problem when they are really obese. So we do a diet counseling, because most of the time whenever we counsel patients, it is 80% diet and 20% exercise. So we tell them, see, this has to be strictly followed, and only then you will be able to achieve your goals.
Okay. Now, when a couple find out, doctor, that they are having some problem, or if they are not conceiving for a long time, they generally go in for these Ayush methods like Unani, yoga, and things like that. What is your take on that?
See, I'm not against it, or even that gives them some tips on healthy lifestyle, some tips on the quality of life.
Yeah.
There also they tell them, eat healthy, eat nutritious food.
Right.
So everything is told to them, but they have to follow that.
Correct.
What happens is, when they come to us, we are very strict about it. We tell them, no, if you don't do this, see, your egg doesn't come out at all. So there maybe they don't tell it with the contention, they don't tell it in a strict way. So that time these people take things easy, but there are many people who have conceived with that also. That's basically because of the healthy lifestyle they follow, the healthy things they eat. Because see, this was not there, this kind of lifestyle, this kind of a stressful life was not there about 30-40 years back.
Previously, yeah.
Things were entirely different.
Right.
The diet we ate, the kind of life we led was entirely different about 35-40 years ago to compared to now what we are leading. So I think you ask them to go into the what do you call
Go back in
back in time, or in time machine.
Yeah.
You ask them to go behind, then, or a flashback. Then things will be more simpler, and they start walking, they start becoming more active, they start using the stairs. So all that irregular metabolism becomes fine. And then
But just in case if they want to go in for allopathic kind of medicine, what are the treatments available, doctor?
So when the couple come to us for the first time, we see what is the woman's status and what is the man's status. We do a baseline scan, then we look for all these non-communicable diseases like diabetes, hypertension, thyroid, and then even sometimes the prolactin levels, that's a hormone. Whether there is hormone irregularity in the woman.
Okay.
And then in a man, we do semen analysis, that is to know the sperm quality, the motility, and the sperm count. And then suppose we feel there is a doubt, then we do the sperm functional tests also. So all this we start as a baseline, and then if the woman doesn't conceive with timed intercourse, we go to the next level of testing the tubes. So if the tubes are normal, or if there is a fibroid, we remove it. If there's endometriosis, we take care of that. And if they require some surgery inside the uterus through hysteroscopy, we do it. So there are a galaxy of things which can happen or everything could be normal.
Yes. To have a child is everybody's dream, doctor. So in that process, there are many queries also. And today we have some people in our studio too waiting to ask you questions. So shall we go on to the question answer
Yes,
session?
come, let's delve into it.
Yes, doctor. After we spoke all this, I myself have some queries before we start our actual Q&A session. Is wearing jeans and things like that and keeping your mobile, does it affect your fertility levels?
Yeah, that there is no evidence for that in women, but definitely in men. That is when they keep their mobiles in their pockets for a long time. That is the pant pockets. The rays from the mobile phone can cause affect the fertility, especially the DNA fragmentation. And also wearing tight trousers, yes. More than that, keeping the laptops on the lap if there is heat on the genital organs. So especially in men, the scrotum, that can affect the sperm motility and the sperm quality.
Okay.
And also wearing tight clothes, as you said. Then even while driving a bike or riding a bike, when they go on a bike, that can also affect if there is a lot of heat, long hours of biking, that also can cause some amount of sperm damage.
Okay, so we'll move on to our Q&A, doctor.
Yes.
Prerna, can we have your first question?
Yeah. Hello, doctor. I've heard that the babies that are born through IVF are sometimes not as healthy as the babies that are conceived naturally. Like they could have some genetic disorders or any other concerns. Is that really true?
No. The genetic inheritance remains the same, whether it is a normal baby or a baby born through IVF. The very fact the embryo is formed and it gets implanted in the womb and the pregnancy test comes positive in an IVF cycle suggests that that's a normal embryo. Even in normal conception, whenever there is an intercourse and embryo is formed, only 50% are normal embryos. The other 50% could be abnormal, or we call it aneuploidy embryos. So conception doesn't occur. But what happens is, whenever we say that IVF couple may have an abnormal baby, that they just relate it to the overall, when you take the statistics of abnormal babies, irrespective of normal or IVF conception, if the embryo is abnormal or if the baby comes to be abnormal, that is only in 2 to 3% of the cases. Among them also, only 1% is lethal anomaly. Lethal anomaly, when I say, it is an embryo or a baby which will not survive in the normal circumstances, that there could be a major cardiac anomaly or major renal anomaly or brain anomaly, so the baby will not survive. But there are small anomalies which can be tackled, or that can be ignored, or it's just a variant, or post delivery we can treat them. That is there with even normal conception and IVF conceptions.
Hi, doctor. So the question is, I've heard that taking fertility medications causes weight gain. So is that true?
Not really, because whatever we give as fertility medication is the hormones which are already in the body, like the FSH, LH. And even when we give post-conception medicines, that is progesterones, there could be some amount of temporary weight gain because the progesterones are known to cause water retention. But the ones which we give for egg development are all hormones which are in the body and that gets excreted within 24 hours or max 1 week. Even in the IVF medications which we give, the ones which are extracted from urine and extracted from the blood, these are supposed to have a little side effect, that is like albumins that can cause hypersensitivity reaction in the woman. But the ones which are biosynthetically prepared are absolutely safe. They do not even alter even a small mustard variation in the body. That's basically because everything is so natural, and even taking IVF medication for 2 or 3 cycles does not affect their health. There's a misconception that long-term IVF medications can lead to cancer. No, nothing like that happens. That's basically because the eggs produced are something like in a natural cycle. And there's another misconception also that if a woman gives her eggs or donates her eggs, her egg number will come down. No, that is not true. It is like every cycle, God has recruited so many eggs. And if you don't use that, that goes as a waste, or we call it apoptosis. So now, if you don't make use of that particular cycle egg, where when we give stimulation and we take the eggs, that eggs goes off. So every cycle the eggs are recruited. So like this, there are about 400 to 500 number of eggs which get recruited in a woman in her prime reproductive period. So as the age declines, this comes down and the woman attains menopause.
Hi ma'am. Are infertility treatment only for women who have never been pregnant before?
Not exactly. See, a woman who is not pregnant before, pregnancy is not like a menstruation which happens like 14 years you become pregnant for the first time. No, it is not like that. Menstruation, yes, that happens every month. But a woman who gets married, she does not necessarily need a treatment for conception. She can conceive naturally also. But if there is a difficulty, if there is an issue, if there is a problem in egg development, or if there is a problem in her womb, that is the endometrium, the lining. See, whenever we say fertility, it is the passage and the passenger. The passage is the womb, that is the uterus, the passenger is the baby. So when both synchronize, conception occurs. So if there is a problem in these two, then only, that means the embryo is not healthy or the endometrium is not good. And when can there be an unhealthy embryo? When the egg quality is poor, when the sperm quality is poor. Endometrium, then her woman's hormone is not normal, or there is some mechanical thing inside the uterus, like a fibroid or a polyp. Only in such situations the woman will require treatment. Otherwise, for by and large, everybody or every woman is made to become a mother.
Is it true that women are the only one getting emotionally affected with this infertility issue?
No, it's not like that. Everybody gets affected in the family. Yes, women may have a lot of pressure. That's basically because, see, our society is like that. They first blame the woman for anything. Even made big clothes, they say the woman didn't wear proper clothes, that's why this situation happened. Or she was not decent enough. So that's not true, you know. Most of the time it is all situations. Same way, a woman infertile, it is not just her cause. There could be man's cause also. But everybody around her will say, okay, she is a barren. In Kannada they say banje. So that's a very harsh word to use, you know. So what happens when such words are used, or she doesn't have a child, she gets emotionally upset. Simultaneously, a caring husband also will get upset because his wife is sad. Simultaneously, there is a lot of disappointment, there is a lot of money which is getting drained. Socially, they look at them as a taboo. Same way, the in-laws and the parents may have empathy towards her, but the in-laws may blame her. So these things which will affect her more, because every time she is the person who is going to the doctor and she faces, okay, this pregnancy test is negative to me, she is the first one to see. So maybe to some extent she is the first person to be in that situation, but definitely the people around her are emotionally upset. But my advice would be, don't stress that lady. Don't stress her by saying, okay, it could be your problem, it is because of you. Instead, let's all solve it. It will happen to you. Give her a positive note. Sort of support her to face that situation. So whenever there is support, whenever there is a lot of empathy and sympathy towards her, she will be able to come out of that situation.
Hi ma'am, my question is on surrogacy. So I want to know if surrogacy is only limited to celebrities and wealthy people.
Well, this is a difficult question for me to answer, but definitely not. The second part of your question may be true because surrogacy costs a lot. Initially, it was just the surrogate and the party. Now there is a lot of technical things involved, the legal issues involved. Then there is even they have to go through the insurance part of it, and then the hospital bills, everything. So maybe it is to people who can afford it. Everybody may not be able to afford that. Something like it will go more than some 20 lakhs like that, which may be a little difficult for everyone to afford that. But definitely no, it's not for celebrities. Wealthy people, yes, partly correct. But as you said, it involves a lot of money, it involves a lot of legal issues, it involves a lot of understanding between the couple, and then the surrogates have to come, they have to go through that legal sort of agreement. So all these are things, and with the new surrogacy rules, it has become more complicated. So people think twice. Should we go through it, because there is so much of legality involved, plus there is so much of money involved.
I think people should be made aware of surrogacy, Alva Doctor. Otherwise, just they think
They have to be made aware. I mean, the awareness should be there. I think the rules should come down. As I said, it is, I don't know, I may be a little radical in saying this, but it is somebody is getting helped emotionally, the other person is getting helped economically. So I feel people should sort of encourage surrogacy, but I don't think because of there are a lot of legal issues, the problems which people have faced in the past, the government has faced in the past, these rules have been made.
Hello, doctor. So, if a woman freezes her eggs, does that guarantee her a baby? As in, are the chances 100%?
See, this is one question which every couple asks me. You know, when they come and I tell them IVF, they say, Doctor, will you give me 100% guarantee that I will conceive? Well, that's not in our hands, because the IVF success rate itself is 40 to 50%. When we freeze the eggs, there are so many issues involved, how it is frozen and what age, how many. But definitely there are conceptions which has happened, forget about celebrities, the other people, but there's no 100% guarantee in that. But there are many people who have frozen their eggs and then at a later date, they have encashed or they have made it into an embryo and then conception has happened. But I am for egg freezing basically because there is some hope. Then at the age of 35, my AMH level goes down to 0.8 and I say, what do? I don't have eggs. Or it's gone to 0.3 and then AMH levels, I say, no, I won't be able to conceive. I have to go for a egg donation. Instead, I have my frozen eggs. So let me try. At least I have some 10 eggs. One can become an embryo. So that is it.
Hi doctor, my question is it true people having fertility issues in their family history, would it be carry forwarded to the next generation as well?
No, that may not be true. That's basically because fertility issues are usually a combination of a man and a woman. Maybe some syndromes or some genetic inheritance could be there, but by and large, infertility doesn't run in families. You can see a lady who has had 8 children, her child may have PCOS because of her lifestyle problems, and then she may have some difficulty in conception. Same way, a man who has 18 kids or his sperm has been excellent, the Aryan race super sperms. So that person's son may have azoospermia. That could be his childhood, he has had mumps, some infection in childhood. So these are some different situations. We can't say, okay, this is genetically inherited, but there could be some syndromes which are inherited, like we say MRKF syndrome, where the uterus is completely absent. So these are some of the things which can happen, but everything does not run in families.
I hope doctor has clearly answered all your questions. Moving on to our next segment, doctor will take us through the different parts of parenthood. So shall we move on, doctor, to the next segment?
Yes.
Doctor, so far we've spoken about natural conception and you've cleared a lot of doubts of all the people who had there. Now, when a couple actually have been trying for natural conception and that has never worked out, now they're looking in for a proper IVF treatment or something like that. So what is your take on that and what are the options available to us? If you can just explain it to us diagrammatically.
Yeah. See, the basics of conception or path to parenthood starts not only when they're a couple, but even before that. Even before, when there is a situation like this, the woman is doing so well, she's young, but she is doing exceptionally well in profession. Because gone are those days when woman was not concentrating on her career.
Correct.
She would come and plan her family, but now it is not like that.
Yeah.
So these women for whom the career clock and the biological clock clash, they plan to do oocyte preservation. So when they are doing this oocyte preservation, they have to literally preserve their fertility. So in future, when they get married, they can use those eggs, or in future when they know who's the right person or who's the right partner, they can make use of their eggs. That may be tomorrow, that may be after 10 years or 15 years. So this could be their planning.
Okay.
So for them, the option is oocyte cryopreservation. Apart from that, as I told you before, a woman wants to preserve her fertility.
Yeah.
So when we say couple wants to preserve their fertility, or a woman wants to preserve her fertility, or a man also wants to preserve his fertility, there are different situations. So preserving fertility is something even before natural conception.
Okay.
So a lady is busy in her career and she wants to preserve her eggs. You have heard about celebrities who are preserving their eggs. So now even these women want to preserve their eggs basically because of the career clock and the biological clock. So she can go to a doctor and say that I want my oocyte to be preserved, and she can preserve her oocytes. This is during her career planning. But if she has some early malignancies, before they start chemotherapy, she can preserve her eggs. And if there is bad endometriosis also, it's a disease which affects the ovaries. So for them also, we advise that why don't you preserve your eggs, because you're not planning conception or you don't have your partner available for you now.
Okay.
And then for men, it is again semen preservation. So if they are having some debilitated diseases or malignancy or some kind of problems, they can always go and preserve their sperms. Now the couple are married or they are living together, they can't afford to have a child, but they are sure that they are going to do their life journey, they are going to continue together. These people can go for embryo preservation, which is much better.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the results are better.
Yeah, the results are definitely much better.
Okay.
So what they can do is they can go to the IVF clinic and then say that we want to preserve our embryos. So egg pickup can be done, sperm is taken, it is joined together and embryo is formed, and then they can preserve the embryos. So these are preservation of parenthood even before they plan natural conception.
This is like embryo is like more like a first stage of pregnancy.
Yes, the first stage of pregnancy. The day 2 or day 3 baby or day 5 baby is already ready to be born into this world, but in a frozen state. Yeah.
And since you were talking about the oocytes also, doctor, how long can they be preserved? For how many number of years?
See, the evidence says it is 10 years, but there are people who have done after that also. But every time when there is evidence, it is a collective study. But anecdotals are always there, after 12 years, 11 years, it is always there. But correctly preserved, everything according to the protocol, so that time it will be 10 years is what is accepted by everybody.
Okay.
So now let's come to this natural conception. In this natural conception, what happens? The couple are trying to conceive naturally. they go to the doctor or they Google and they say, let's start taking some supplements. So supplements is, we advise folic acid. So folic acid supplement is given, and then some protein powders. Sometimes they say, okay, we are feeling weak and all that. So we can give them supplements. Suppose they are anemic, we even correct anemias. The next thing is where we tell them to have a healthy lifestyle. As we have discussed before, PCOS is very common. So there is no natural ovulation. So the best treatment for PCOS is healthy lifestyle. I always tell them, you try to have a good lifestyle or try lifestyle management by diet, counseling and exercise. These two people who are planning to have a baby, it is always good for them to have an ideal weight and ideal circumstances, and then plan for having a baby and timed intercourse. So when do we tell them? If the cycles are regular, the woman's cycles are regular. So we tell her to have intercourse between 12th to the 14th or 15th day. And how do I know my ovulation is the next question the lady will ask me. So I tell her, why don't you take a kit? That is the ovulation kits, which is available abroad and in India. In India,
available everywhere?
Yes, it's available in every pharmacy. LH kit it is called, so they can put their drops of urine. This LH is a hormone which peaks just before ovulation. So if that LH kit is positive, they know that in next 24 hours I'm going to ovulate, and that's when they have intercourse. So this may work for natural conception. So regular intercourse or regularly they follow a healthy lifestyle and then follow these things which I have mentioned, conception is is easy. So next let's go for this assisted natural conception. What is this assisted natural conception? That is, they have information everywhere, they take it from the Google, some friend has told them that okay, I did this, or they have heard that friend's doctor has gone, or they consult a doctor in some wedding and say, I'm not able to conceive. So doctor gives them a little tips. So the male wants to know that his sperms are good, so the kits are available, so he can do his sperm testing. It may not be accurate saying that motility and the amount of the exact number of sperms may not be able to be shown, but at least they'll know that, this is, my sperms are actively moving here. So maybe I'm normal. Okay. So then the next thing is ovulation kits. As I told you, the woman can time her intercourse and ovulation kits. She can accordingly time. And then there are some couples who are unable to have intercourse. That is, they perform the different acts, and insemination or insertion into the vagina may not be possible, or ejaculation may not be possible inside the vagina. So these couples, we tell them, why don't you do it with the insemination kits which are available. More simple, do it at home is, take a sterile syringe, take the semen sample and then inject it into the vagina of the lady. That will give good results, and we have seen a lot of conceptions in that. After this natural conception, let's go to this medically assisted conception. Now this medically assisted conception is, they come to the doctor. They have tried all methods, all the DIY kits have all failed. They have realized that there is no ovulation, though the LH kit is positive, because in PCOS the LH kit will come positive. Constantly the LH is high. That is because of the hormonal imbalance in PCOS. So with such patients, they come to us, so we do all the investigations and then realize that she has PCOS. So we tell them lifestyle, we put them on medication, we'll do ovulation induction and timed intercourse. So that is one way of medically assisted conception. And then of course counseling for, don't worry, you will conceive, and there is disappointments, there is happiness, and all this goes on. Then timed intercourse, they have been trying, but nothing has happened. Then we do intrauterine insemination, IUI. So IUI is done when the woman is ovulating and she is ready for ovulation. That time we do her LH kit also, we give her HCG injection for the egg to rupture, and then we do the IUI. The semen sample is taken into the lab and there is preparation, semen preparation is done. We call it the swim up technique and then density gradient techniques. So these two are different techniques which we do, that is in this medically assisted conception. And we do IUI, and IUI results are anywhere between 15 to 20%.
That is done externally. All this is done externally.
Yeah, everything is done in the andrology lab, and once it is ready, it is taken in the syringe and then injected into the vagina. Going through the speculum is put, cervix is seen, very gently this catheter is introduced and it is injected. So IUI we do. Before doing IUI, sometimes we do a tube test also because we want to know whether the tubes are patent. In this bargain, we come to know that there is a fibroid, there's an ovarian cyst, or there is endometriosis. So everything is tackled laparoscopically. Sometimes there are problems inside the uterus like fibroids, or there is a polyp, and then Escherman's, wherein the cavity itself is not good, in the sense it is a cavity which has adhesions. It is just stuck like this. We call it Escherman's. So we treat that and then we facilitate her conception.
But this is just my doubt. Like while they have these periods and all, will they not know all this if the tubes are right or something?
No. When they're having their periods, they just know that they are menstruating and probably ovulating. But tubes cannot be made out with their natural cycles. Tubes are entirely two different things, and that is a bridge which connects the egg, that is the fertilized embryo, will be brought through the tube and it is implanted in the uterus. So the tube connects between the ovary and the uterus. So they won't know, we have to do tests for that. Good you asked that. I think we have clarified that doubt also. And then of course medications, and if there are any medical disorders like thyroid, diabetes, obesity or some other prolactin levels, everything is treated in this medically assisted. They conceive with the doctor's help but not IVF. So this is the medically assisted conception. Next we go to IVF, that is in vitro fertilization. So when we say in vitro fertilization, test your baby, it has been there for the past now almost
a decade, more than a decade?
No, almost about 4 decades now. So this has been going on. I think 1978 they started this. So it's been since then, and everybody, we have so many IVF babies in the world now. But the moment the procedure itself is in vitro, the moment it comes to the uterus, positive pregnancy, everything else is like normal, unless and until they have other problems like diabetes, hypertension, which any other normally conceived person also can have. So that has to be treated. But IVF pregnancies are a little high risk as compared to a normal pregnancy. So what we do here in vitro fertilization, we take the egg, the couple have tried for so many years, it has not happened. So they go to the IVF clinic and they say we need assistance. So a stimulation is done to them, like from day 2 egg development treatment is given. On day 13 or 14 when it is ready for pickup, injections are given. So egg pickup is done. Simultaneously the man gives his sperms, which in the lab is put in a petri dish and allowed to fertilize naturally. That is one thing. Second thing is, if the sperms are very less, then we do ICSI. That is, we take these sperms and inject it into the egg. So then the embryo is formed and then it is kept inside the lady's womb. So now what will happen, if everything is fine, she conceives. If she doesn't conceive, or if the man doesn't have good quality sperms, or if they are willing, then we can go in for donor insemination also can be done, that is IUI with donor sperms. Or if the man does not have good quality sperms, then donor sperm IVF also can be done. But there is a hope for these men when they don't have sperms in their semen. We do something called as TISA, where the sperms are extracted from the testicles and the seminiferous tubules. So when this is removed, this ICSI is done, and then we have got conceptions with that also. But sometimes even that doesn't work, then we go for donor. And when the woman's egg quality is very bad, or there are no eggs at all, at a later age,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
35, 45 years. So that time we do with donor eggs.
So, what is the acceptance level for either a sperm donor or an egg donor?
That is, a proper counseling has to be done. We need consent from the partners. They have to be told that this is the situation. Then they usually agree
Okay.
for that. So once they agree, then only we do. It's an informed consent and proper documentation is done, and then they agree for donor, or we call it as donor gametes.
Okay.
Okay. So it's called as donor gamete. So that has a lot of legal issues also.
Okay.
But if this doesn't happen at all, nothing happens, they don't conceive, then the final thing is surrogacy. That is, they have good embryos, but the womb is bad.
Yeah.
I told you Escherman's, sometimes the uterus is removed due to some reason, or the mother has some problem. She has severe diabetes, thyroid issues are there, cardiac issues, so that if she conceives, she is not going to she will not be able to continue the pregnancy up to term. So in such situations, the government has made rules, like 5 situations are there, which we can discuss in the legal aspects. So surrogacy can be
One of the
considered, but there is lot of rules. I would still like to insist that surrogacy is a very good option for couples who want their own progeny. That's basically because they get a baby and the surrogate gets her life.
Correct.
She gets her money there. Altruistic surrogacy, that is surrogacy for good, I don't think anybody will do. But government wants altruistic surrogacy, which is a little difficult. Which lady will give 9 months of her life to somebody else?
Right.
So that is the thing.
Yeah, but I think slowly also it's been gaining a lot of popularity,
Yeah, yeah.
considering the celebs, most of them having kids
Yeah,
through surrogacy.
through surrogacy, yes.
I think it's quietly
Yeah.
gaining its popularity.
Yeah, they have to do it, when celebs start doing it.
I know,
have
they just
to
follow
do it.
suit.
Yeah. Yes. So that is all about in vitro fertilization, but everything fails. Surrogacy, they don't want to. The 3-4 IVF is failed. We tell them, we want a break. They say, doctor, we want a break. So that time, these are some things which they can try. That is alternative therapies. See, here the mind and the body is relaxed. The stress of the treatment is not there. They have been running behind this clinics or going to multiple clinics, having big files, completely stressed out, and then lot of unwanted information is given to them. They don't know what to do. They say, okay, let me just put everything aside. I don't want to see those files. Let me try some yoga therapies. Let me get back my health. Because they all feel that when we have been running to clinics, going so many cycles of IVF, my health is at stake. So let me get back to normal life. That's when all this acupuncture and Ayush practices, massages, mental relaxation. But when everything happens, when the stress comes down, they'll have embryos.
Yeah.
In the IVF clinic, they'll conceive spontaneously. So this also has worked. So that is about alternative therapies. Beyond fertility, there's something else, that is adoption.
Okay.
This is another very good thing, beyond fertility adoption, which couples should inculcate if everything fails, because they are giving a child a life, and in turn their life is going to change. So I think if they are able to make up their mind, everything fails to them, they should go for this, because after this life changes, and whatever has gone in the past, or the bad memories of the past, I would say, just fades away, and they're very happy with the baby.
Correct, doctor. That's
So this is all in a nutshell about the path to parenthood.
As we wrap up today's discussion, let's highlight why Path to Parenthood is unique and important.
First of all, there's a lot of information available in this Path to Parenthood. There are finely crafted books, discussions, and a proper insight is given to you in this Path to Parenthood.
Join our workshops to know more about medical care as well as emotional well-being.
Do you need a personal touch at Path to Parenthood? Yes, we have. We have separate cubicles available for you for free or discounted consultations by specialists Please make use of this.
Don't forget to explore our DIY kits, product demos to have a hands-on experience on parenthood tools.
This event is a gateway for all information regarding infertility, regarding parenthood, regarding natural conception. Everything you will get it under one roof. Please bring your friends, your relatives, your known people, and some of your own kith and kin who are away in other places. Please invite them to Bangalore and attend this great event, Path to Parenthood.
Doctor, thank you so much for giving us such detailed information about everything. I think it was like a perfect guide already.
It was a pleasure coming to this event, and it was a pleasure to explain about the path to parenthood. We look forward to see you all at the event. Come and gather information and make your path to parenthood very easy.
Thanks for tuning in. We hope to see you at the event. Here are the details.